Hello, everybody. This is Mark Moretti from Home Office, here to talk about a riveting topic today, the special rate request procedure. So the special rate request and approval process is the formal approval of a verbal concession that's already been provided by home office management to the ED or the DCR of a community. This happens for lots of reasons. We have new residents who are coming in who can't quite afford our rates. We have current residents who have spent down and they need to have a new rate provided. So once that verbal approval from a member of the home office team has already been received, then the ED or the DCR is going to initiate the special rate request and approval form. And again, this form is communicating to the accounts receivable or the AR team that an agreement has been made between the community and that resident, that resident will be paying rates that are different from the published rates. In other words, anytime you submit an RBI with rates that are different from those published street rates, it's going to automatically necessitate that a special rate request approval form be put into place. That can apply to new move-ins, which are my favorites, current residents, couples discounts and companion rates, time-limited percentage discounts. You've seen a lot of these. These are 20% off the first 3 months' rent, so forth and so on, and respite rates. So here to talk a little bit more about how this works functionally and how the AR team needs to see these forms come to them, we have with us Mary Pat Ornstein from our AR team, and she's going to provide lots of great information for you. So welcome, Mary Pat.
Okay, so we're going to talk about completing all areas of the body of the special rate request form, and we want to keep in mind the following. The current street base rate is comprised of just the rental rate of the room. The base rate request is comprised of just the proposed rental rate of the room. And the level of care should not be discounted, and it should not be included on this form. So in a nutshell, the LOC does not play into the special rate requested. So let's take a look at the new form. The new form has 3 new highlighted areas. Base rate we've added that word, and then we've added an effective date to the form, and then we've also added at the bottom that this form is now being moved through the system or the process by the BOM. So let me just talk to that point for a couple of minutes. We'll stay on this page. So we've added at the top next to current street the base rate. This is just that. It's the base rate. We do not want to see the LOC. If you need to write the LOC out to the side because you're doing calculations, great. Do it. Please do it. Use this as a note sheet. You can put as much information or as little information on it. It's just so that Ann and I have what we need. The second area that's changed is that we want to make sure that you are using the base rate requested, again without the LOC. Then the effective date that this item goes into effect. Now you might want to put in there that this might be the move-in date, and that's fine and it's acceptable. But if you have a hard date, please put a hard date in there. And then the date the rate ends, and that is going to be especially important when we have the 20% off, because Ann and I are going to be looking for an actual hard end date, and that's the last day of the month or the last day that that request is in effect. Moving on, we have a couple of examples of the forms. The first one is the new move-in. It's our example number 1. Take the time to look at this, print this out, take your notes. It's very self-explanatory, so I'm not going to go through it field by field. Moving on to the next example, we have an example for you for a current resident. This is for someone where something may have changed. For example, this one shows that they were running low on funding and we're waiting for VA approval, so we might be giving them a concession for a short period of time. Moving on to example 3. Example number 3 shows you 20% off. This is for an individual that's coming in new to our facilities. And then the next example, example number 4, is also at 20%. So you can see on this example that there's more information filled out. So the reason that I show example 3 and example 4 is to show that you're going to have differing items written in on this form depending on the nature of your community, the nature of your resident, the nature of the current situation. Moving on to our last and final, which is example number 5, respite stay. So this is going to show where we would have a daily base rate of 200 per day, that we're requesting 180 per day. It's pretty self-explanatory. The only thing that we do want to note on here that the respite stays are charged for the day of entry and the date of discharge, and you need to make sure that you are conveying that to your impending resident. So now we're going to move on to the approval process. Once the ED or DCR has completed the SSRA form, it's turned over to the BOM for tracking. The BOM will submit and complete the form to the home office management team for signature based on the following criteria. If you're requesting a special rate for a new move-in, you're going to send this up to Mark Moretti. Mark will facilitate the home office approval and signature process. If you're requesting a rate change for a current resident, you're going to send this up to Tracy Dobson. Tracy will facilitate the home office approval and signature process. Once the form has been reviewed and signed by the home office team, the form will be scanned back to the BOM. The form requires 3 signature or email approvals, so the BOM should be collecting that information. Once we have, making sure that when you submit this, that you have in the email subject line, rate approval request, the community name, and the prospect resident's name. Then you're ready to submit. When you do your submission, the items that need to come along with that are the special rate request form with all the email approvals, if applicable, the residential billing information form, known as RBI, and the community fee form, if applicable. When I use the term if applicable, it's just that. If you've already sent in your community fee form, which many of you do ahead of time, then obviously you do not need to submit it at the same time that you're submitting the RBI. We don't want you to do duplicate work. However, we want to make it clear when the resident billing information form is submitted to AR to put into the system, Ann and I can't do anything with this if the SSRA form is not attached, completely signed, or has the attachment of the proper emails to support signatures. You can submit your forms in one scan with all 3 forms, separate scans for each form. Adhere to the naming conventions set up by the AR department. And if you're not sure about how to do that, see the procedure for scanning from the shop copier devices. That concludes my portion of the SSRA form.
Thank you, everybody. In just under 8 minutes, we hope that we recapped exactly how this form and process should work. Just a couple of things to bear in mind. When your business office manager sends the form to us, make certain that you use the conventions in the subject line that we talked about earlier, and that is special rate request, rate approval request, community name, and prospect name in the subject line. Also, send it only to the person you're supposed to be sending it to. So if it's a new move-in, send it just to Mark. You don't need to copy a bunch of other folks in that. You can copy your ED if that's important to you. That's perfectly fine. Or just to Tracy. That way it stays clean in-house and we're not all printing out a bunch of forms and trying to get each other to sign it. The other thing is exercise a little bit of patience in waiting to get these forms back. The folks who have to sign it here at home office, we are extremely busy, just like you are. We're often in and out. We don't have access to printers, copiers, and scanners, and so sometimes it takes us a little time to get it back to you. If we have missed one and we haven't responded to you in, say, 24 hours, just have your BOM send me or Tracy a quick email saying, hey, did this come to you? Have you missed it? And go ahead and have them, by the way, include the attachment. And if we did miss it the first time, we'll go ahead and print it off and get it taken care of. Thank you for all the time and effort that you put into making our communities great. There are a whole lot of seniors living in our communities who appreciate it, and a whole lot of colleagues who are able to do their job because you do your job so well. So thank you so much. Use this video for reference whenever you have a question, or feel free to get in touch with your AR team member. Have a great day.